All right, we are live. That's what it says. That's what it says. So you never know. That might not hit the Facebook ranks until just a little bit. But how are you doing?
Cool. I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. So, thank you for coming on. I wanted to bring you on. I had the pleasure of talking to Noah last week. He got on and was able to bring a lot of value with the presentation. And I know you texted me this morning. You're like, hey, um, can we just keep it like, or I don't really have any can we just keep it, or, and I was like, perfect. Let's do that. And I loved what Noah was doing last week. I know that you tuned in. And it's
Mhm.
funny because like he came to my house, obviously, and it felt like a kid in the candy store, right? He's like, oh man, and so he's coming back. He's coming
Oh,
back, and
yeah.
he's able to come next week to our meetup. So
He's
thank you for
excited.
being on. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So
Yeah, it was cool. He came back from Savannah realizing how out of shape I think he was because you guys walked so
he was,
much
yeah.
that he now is like working out every single morning early. He's like, I'm ready for Savannah again. Let's walk miles.
Yeah. So tell me like what real estate stuff you got going on? Like what have you been up to this week? Like I think that
Craziness.
I'm always curious of what you got going on because you've helped me a lot in my career, a lot. So I'm always asking you, what are you doing, especially during these times?
Yeah, and I love it because I've seen you guys grow so much and like I'm the same way with you. Like, what have you got going on now, right? So like and you're the best student because obviously you always listen and implement, which is so important. So this week, I mean, it's crazy. So, you're watching the news, I'm watching other local investors. I'm seeing people like, oh my gosh, the interest rates, what's going to happen? The housing market, it's starting to slow, prices are dropping a little, you'd like hear it across the board. So I don't listen to any of that because obviously we've been in real estate since 2007. So everyone that's watching knows what the market did then. So this is nothing like that, completely different. And our market, it's like you have to sort of rewind your brain like pre-COVID and I have to go, okay, take a step back. What was the market doing at that time? Like we were always in a very like safe market. We're in Columbia, South Carolina. It was like a very steady growth as long as I've lived here. It never jumped super high. So what's interesting is if I reflect back to like pre-COVID, we're like in the same market. Things are like, the summer tends to be a little slower for buyers. They take a little longer. We start to really ramp up always in October. And usually, to be quite honest, Noah and I, because of the kids, we like try to make a conscious effort to take the summer off just to like enjoy and be with family and do and kind of check out, which is, the goal of everyone wanting to do it. It just doesn't always work like that. So for us, we're still making offers. We have a property that is in Spartanburg, South Carolina, that will be on the market next week. That has been a property I've probably seen 6 times since we bought, which is super cool. I went through the system of hiring the right contractors, and everybody's been wonderful. So we're going to be selling that. And then I actually got a lead from an agent referral, a good friend who's also, this is funny, he's an investor. Him and his wife invest in flip houses as well. And he doesn't do anything with mobile homes, even though he looked at the comps and was like, I think I should be doing this because the spread is really good. I don't touch mobile homes. So I went and actually met with the seller and we agreed to a price. So we're going to get that under contract this week. And I don't know. We could rehab it. I'm pretty sure we could wholesale it. So I'm kind of like in between what I want to do right now with that. So
Yeah, multiple. And then, something that like so we met through, Fortune Builders. That's how
mhm,
we met. We've known each other over 10 years,
which
probably
is
even
crazy.
even longer. It goes quick. And one of the things that I wasn't doing any real estate deals at the time, I was learning, I was going through the process. That's why I got involved with them is to learn. And I remember like I had an opportunity to come over to your house, and you and Noah actually like were just like dating. Like y'all weren't married yet,
I
didn't have kids.
remember.
And I walked in and like, not saying it was the exact opposite, but it was like these are two entrepreneurs that are pushing the line, but you were so chill. You had the TV on. Y'all were like doing like working, like talking to agents, like, oh yeah, we're gonna go over to this flip. And I was like, man, it's such a cool lifestyle. So what were you doing last night? You were just telling me that you guys just drove back.
Yeah, we're realizing how old we are, how a difference of 10 years makes in kids, right? So like Noah and I, we still try to date. Actually, my oldest son, it was funny the other week. He's like a very perceptive child. Like he watches everything you do. All kids do, but he really does. And he loves the concept of like family and mom and dad. It's so sweet. So the other week he like mentioned something and it kind of made me go like, you're right. He's like, oh, kiss your boyfriend. And I'm like, well, he's my husband. And then I started laughing. I was like, well, I should actually always treat him like a boyfriend because I feel like once you become a husband and wife, you know, you're like in that mode. So Noah and I still date and go and try to do fun stuff. So we left the kids behind with our amazing babysitter last night and we drove to Charlotte to go see a concert. We went to go see Whiskey Myers right downtown. It was so awesome. But like, I didn't tell you this part, which you're going to laugh about. So we meet a guy who, at the bar before we go in. We're just kind of sitting and having a drink. And there's a 36-year-old guy who's like not married, no kids. And we're like, oh my gosh, you're like the unicorn of life. You're like what we were before we got married. And he's like laughing. So we're like giving him advice. I'm like, oh my God, we're such parents now, right? But we had a great time. We went to the concert, but we realized how old and tired we were when we had to drive back after the concert. And I was like, oh my God, we got home at midnight. I was like, whoa. But the cool part is, guess what? We can do that because we got up this morning with the kids. We're chilling all day. So like we have really worked to create this lifestyle. You know, I hear entrepreneurs say all the time, you have to have a system, which I believe is true. But I think people sell the entrepreneurial dream of, you know, if you have all these systems in place, they'll work perfect. And then you can just do whatever you want. But they don't talk about necessarily the hurdles and building process. And like everybody's dream looks different. So it's really cool. We've been able to implement just doing now very little to spend more time with the kids, but be really smart about what we do and how we spend our time in our business.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's real cool. Like we talk about this a lot, you know, because we meet weekly in, you know, masterminding and different things like that with Noah and Joanna as well. And we kind of discuss like the lifestyle stuff, and I get to kind of see an inside view of it. And there's nothing wrong with like hustling hard and putting a lot of work into it. We talk about that as well. So you just got to choose, right? And that's the
Totally.
most important thing. You got to choose what you want to do. And I think if you are in real estate or if you're building your business, like remember to have fun. And that's what you've always like, you and Noah always like show me that, you know, either through like one-on-one or vicariously, you know, through Facebook and us talking and stuff like that, you know, because you guys are on the boat, you're doing different things. And I think some of us forget, like, yeah, you want to be at the properties and, you know, do certain things, but you know, I'm not hounding my mechanic about my car when I have issues. So I feel like the same thing with like contractors. Like I'm not trying to be there all the time. Like they know how to do certain things, you know, give them direction. Obviously you want to know things, but when we're putting in systems and processes, I think it's important to like enjoy your life. I do my best to do that as well. And I work hard as well, but there's this balance, you know, and I feel like you and Noah have that perfect balance. I like to like kind of switch gears a little bit on like mobile homes. You said you just got a lead on a mobile home, and this is just me personally, like what, like, and I've watched a lot of stuff, and I still haven't done any mobile homes. So like, so you got the lead from the agent. How did the agent know that was your buy box? Like this is somebody that you talked to. Like tell me like the details of that, and then how would you evaluate this mobile home? Because like some of them you have to do it like title, you know, like a car, right? So
Right.
Can you shed some light? I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
might be open.
Yeah, because everything you're actually saying right now is what everybody feels like. Hey, I've got this lead. Okay, I'm going to move past this lead and I'm never going to call these people back and because I don't know what to do with it. And then like, I'm just going to ignore it. So like, that's what happened to me many years ago. I was like, I got to really learn this. Like, what is the difference between each one? So this agent specifically, I have known he's actually the first person I met when I moved to Columbia. Funny enough, like at the time, like my other business partner, Erica, who you know, and his name is Jesse, and myself became really good friends. We were all single. We had no kids, right? So we would hang out all the time. And he was a young entrepreneur as well. Now, fast forward, he's married with 2 girls and we're married with 2 boys. So it's cool. We've been able to grow like the friendship in the business. So for him, we lean like we are true believers in everybody in your local market. You should know, and you should work with them, not against them, because somehow, you know, something's going to come full circle. So he's an agent. He actually owns a brokerage. He knows that Noah and myself do mobile homes. So anytime he comes across anything, he kind of goes, hey, because he got the lead actually for the listing. And he went and looked at it and he was just like, oh, he's very transparent, which is cool. And I respect this as a broker agent. So there's a lot of people probably watching that are like, I have my license. Should I get my license? But him and his wife actually both, he's the broker, she has her agent license. And what they've done a really great job of is educating sellers. So he went to the house and the truth is you have a nice house. Okay. She wanted payoff, which is like right around 75,000. There's comps that have sold for 180 on a mobile home. They're going as high as houses like right now. And I think that trend will continue because it's still very much more affordable than, the single family homes. This house happens to be in a great school district, has almost an acre of land. So when I looked at the house, he walked in and said, listen, in order to get like a good price, you're going to have to fix things in here. And she has a lot of animals. She has a lot of cats in there. So like, that's not going to be desirable to everybody that walks in that says, whoa, this is my dream home. But of course, as an investor, we see the potential. So he was like, listen, this listing is just not for me because the reality is it's going to sit and I don't want to spend the time making you think you're going to get a price you're not. And, your best option, and this is cool from an agent, your best option is to get an all cash offer. He said, hands down, period, unless you're willing to put the money in to fix it. And she's like, she's in a position where she can't. So he called me and he said, hey, listen, I've got a great lead. Here's the deal. She's a great lady. I think you can help her. And even if you can't, go see the property. Maybe you can give her some advice. So for me, it's always a win-win. If I can't help you, here's what you should do. So like, here's my option. Here's this option. These are like your 3 options, choose. So I went and met with her and walked the property, and really it's in great condition, but it's very cluttered. It needs to be painted, new cabinets, the basics. So once I kind of ran the numbers on that, I looked at it actually literally like a single family home, because the reality is this house has been detitled, which means there is no car title to it. It's actually been removed and it's a piece of real property. So it's actually just like a house. So it she has a mortgage on it. It's attached to the ground. It's been brick underpinned and tied down. So it's not mobile anymore. It's in place. And it's a double wide. It's actually a 1999 double wide. So I can get, when I buy, I typically use, because this is where people fall into another piece. How do I get the funding? Because most people don't understand mobile homes. Well, there is a hard money lender in South Carolina that will lend on mobile homes. So there are some hard money lenders. You're probably going to need to look very local to your market and ask them, and maybe they can refer someone, because it is a little more difficult. So for the most part, we're using private money, and these are lenders that have lent with us for many years on our houses. So they feel very comfortable lending on the mobile homes. So we go in and buy private money. And then when we sell, what's cool, so a lot of people have been told and sold that you can't finance mobile homes. So they think, I'm not going to put the work into it because who can buy this? It has to be an all cash. Untrue. So you have to look in your state, I tell people, with a local mortgage broker that knows mobile homes, and ask them, if I go to sell this home, can someone get financing? Because you can get conventional and FHA loans on mobile homes to sell. So there's a big buyer pool. So it's really important to figure out those things. Does this house meet that criteria? Now, if this was a home in a park, like you were talking about, it's on a car title, you're just buying like the chattel, which is the mobile home only specifically. And those people will buy them all cash, because usually you can get them for, 5, 10, 15 grand. So people buy them to live in as an investment. That's a completely different transaction. You're not going through a title company or attorney. You're literally just switching the title over like a car.
Yeah.
So this one is a full-fledged house, I would call it, except for it's a manufactured home,
Yeah. How'd you get into the mobile homes? Like, did it fall in your lap, or did you go out and like try to get into it?
Yeah, I lived in Florida at the time. So this was like when the market, 2007 is when I got into real estate. And when I lived in Florida and was transitioning to South Carolina, I was seeing a lot of mobile homes. And it was interesting because, like the internet hadn't really taken off then. It was like really then like kind of ramping up. And I started just Googling books, classes, and there was really nothing out there.
Yeah.
So I started doing like just a lot of self-research and finding people and talking to them. But what I found is also some of these people didn't even get the process of like what you could do back then. So then I was actually going to use mobile home dealerships and dealerships to talk to them like, hey, what can you do here? Because I'm like, I don't know this. I just need to find the people that know it, just like what we do. Like,
Yeah.
don't recreate the wheel, just find the person and like just go with them. Because if they've got this system, why do I need to recreate this? I just need to learn what they're doing and follow and implement. So that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. And then I started to build and learn more. And I was like, whoa. But what's interesting is probably in the last 5 years, manufactured homes have become more popular. But in the last 2 years since the pandemic, the prices have skyrocketed.
That's interesting.
Um,
Have you
it's
seen that before in the last?
no. And what's interesting is I have a good friend who is a mortgage broker down in Charleston. And she's been in the business, for 20 plus years. But what's cool, she has specifically worked with mobile homes for 20 plus years. She's like, I've never seen this. She's like, but they're building them better. People want acreage and land. They're understanding that the price tag is much lower than housing. So like it works for people, which is cool
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah. And I and I asked, and I know you have a mobile home course,
Mm-hmm.
but you have your life, so it's not like something that you have, because you get these questions all the time. So you feel like I'm gonna create a course. So but as far as
I
like
did.
do you feel like it's a hidden gem, or do you feel like a lot of people know about it? I feel like some people that talk about mobile homes, they don't really talk about it much, because
Right.
it's such a low key part of the
I
business.
think
There's
they
80
know
ways to
them.
make money in real estate, right?
Yeah, which
So
sounds crazy, right? But that's so true when you think about that, because everyone has that scarcity, like everybody's going towards the same thing, doing the same thing. I'm like, no, that's like a big bulk of the people, but everybody else that understands it isn't going anywhere near that. So I think people do know the mobile homes, but still, when you say them, you get like the turned up nose or like the because they haven't really been in a new one. They've been in a very old mobile home that just looks like a trailer and it's kind of trashy. I don't mean that in a bad way, but like that's the bulk of stuff, especially in the South. So like the mindset is still like, but those that have gotten into it and done it, completely different vibe. They're like, oh my gosh, this is insane how great this business works. It's actually my best return on investment. So it's kind of comical. It's like when you ask somebody, oh, how's rehabbing? Oh, it's awful. You can't find a good contractor. Contractors are terrible. And here I am, like, we just did this house in Spartanburg. Everybody showed up. Like, it was almost easier than a local deal, because if I'm local, I'm going to go check on it. If it's an hour and a half, I'm not going to drive up there every day. And they're just sending me pictures and everything has been so smooth. It's like, but again, it goes back to like knowing the process of hiring the right people, asking the right questions. I'm a true believer in like, we have to meet our budget. Like, I get that. But like, the reality is, I'm not going to undercut somebody for doing hard work. Without them,
yeah,
I have no rehab. And to be very frank with you, my father is a very hard worker and spent his whole life, 5 a.m. in the morning working till 9 o'clock. So if I'm undercutting someone on the great work they do, I'm essentially saying my father's not worth that money either. So for me, I would rather pay someone a little more than try to cut them and get someone that's bad. It's just not
yeah,
worth it.
yeah. And that's a big lesson that I learned from you, but also just being a human, right? And just seeing, like, I think we were talking like a couple weeks ago, and you said, yeah, these contractors are working way harder than me today. And it was like super hot out. And, I just have so much respect for, the team that puts the houses together. I mean, we
Yes.
find the deal, we put the money together. I mean, we do what we do. Obviously, that's a skill in itself. But if somebody was looking to get into real estate, like I don't shy away from saying, like, go learn a trade. Like, there's nothing
100%.
wrong with learning how to do electrical work, or knowing how to paint a house. One of the houses that we're rehabbing right now, I was talking to one of the painters, and he was like, "Yeah, I was retired, but this keeps me going. I like what," and I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes when you just like don't have nothing to look forward to, it's easier to like get into depression and things like that."
Yeah,
So
you check out, and especially now, like it really is. And it's so interesting. I've learned so much in the course of real estate, and I guess like partially being a parent now has forced me, because it's like it's not as easy to be like, "Oh, I have all the hours in the day and I don't have to like make lunch for someone or get up or do this." But like I want to be so present with my kids that it's like I've had to learn, like, also every deal isn't the best deal. So don't have that scarcity mentality of I have to rehab everything, because you'll be spread way too thin. And I see it
Yeah.
so many times, people like blasting on social media. I've got 25 rehabs going on. And in my mind, I'm like, ugh, I have this like bad gut feeling, because I'm like, I've been there. That is not, it doesn't always, whatever. I don't know what the thing is. Glitter is gold, like whatever that
Yeah.
comment is. I feel like that. And I feel like volume isn't necessarily the key to being a great investor. I think it's being smart about the deals you do. That's something I've learned over time. And I try to enforce to people, really do that. But that comes down to like, we always talk, because I'm always like, Corey, what have you got going on? Like, how did you find these deals? Because we do completely different marketing.
Yeah.
Like we really do. And it's funny because I'm like, oh, that's how you found that. I should try that. But I'm not doing a lot of that, because whatever I have over here is working, and I don't have to do everything.
Right.
But it's smart to like just, stay in your wheelhouse of what works, and just keep grinding, because you'll also start putting less time in when you do that.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Like we have a deal, right? Like the deal I was telling you about, we got that from a wholesaler, but that wholesaler came from a seller that we've actually done business with. Right. So it's like it goes through these cycles where it's just interesting how it works. Like you could be doing the marketing and then they could just be ready to sell another house on a different year, because some of these sellers aren't looking to sell. They might have 15 properties, but they're not looking to get taxed on 15 properties.
And you have to remember that too. Like you have to remember, I got to follow up with this person in 8 months. And if you don't have a system of doing that, because you're all over the place, you miss that deal, because they're definitely going to sell it to someone else, because they might not be thinking of Corey today or Christy. They might have bumped into Curtis, who's in your market, right? They might have bumped into him and had a conversation with him and end up selling the house to him. So like I like literally was guilty of this, right? Because no one's perfect, but there was an attorney that Noah and myself closed with for years. I mean, almost my oldest son probably went to 30 closings at that office. We have pictures. And I hadn't seen him in a while, because we've moved on the other side of town, and we used another attorney that's closer because it was convenient. And I went into refi a deal with a business partner, and we were talking to him because now his kids are older, and he's like, how are the boys? It's like, you wouldn't believe it. Anyway, he starts telling us, yeah, I've got these 3 properties that are headaches that I need to get rid of. He's just casual conversation. He's not telling us to buy them. But then I'm like, wait, give me the addresses. We can buy those. And then it was just so funny. I'm like, we didn't even have to work for that lead. We knew him all along, but why was I not cultivating that? Right.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me, like, your mouth is your best marketing tool. Use it. And then it was like, okay. And literally we got keys to the one house, went and looked at it. And we have 2 others we're going to work with him to help him get rid of. And he's super open.
And having multiple exit strategies, like I'm okay with it, because we're still doing the deal. Like we're still able to make it happen, even though it came from the same seller. Like it came from a wholesaler. Some of the deals that we actually worked with that seller, we sold to other investors. So this whole real estate, it's a small world, right? Especially in your own market. As far as you, I got a question though.
Yeah.
Because, I have women members on my team, right? You deal with a lot of contractors, so I know how you've dealt with them in the past. But like, how as a woman, how do you deal with that? Because it is a different conversation. And I don't mean to single anybody out, but it is, like, I've noticed, not just contractors, but in real estate, in general, it can be a more male dominated field, right? So how do you navigate through those waters?
It's so interesting because
it's changing big time, but
it is, but it's still like, I mean, the reality is a lot of my sellers, even if it's a husband and wife, I'm usually dealing with the husband, because they're the one that was the hands-on. The wife did a lot of the book work, and that's like, that's normal, like a baby boomer property, or, that's just the way it is. So here I show up, right? Like, I guess good now, I'm a little bit older, but when I was younger, it was like, oh, here's this young girl. What does she know? And I think it is like, you don't have to pretend like you know everything, but definitely be educated on stuff. And I think that's huge, because what starts happening is people look at you and they take because we're all judged on what we look like, right? Like we know that no matter where we go during the day, where we're at, time of day, all of that. But like when your education factor comes in and you know what you're talking about, all of a sudden something you said might click with them, that they're like, I never thought about that. Or, oh my gosh, that's so smart. I never did that. I literally remember meeting 2 gentlemen, my mother and father's age, in the early 70s. And I know you have a lot of sellers like that, downsizing their portfolio. They're getting a little older. And I think they actually like to see younger investors.
Yeah.
And I actually think they like to see younger investors that are doing the business a little smarter than they did, maybe not putting as much work in, because they're like, man, I wish I would have known that. So I was talking to these gentlemen, and one was more of like the behind the scenes finance person, and the other one was the hands on. And that's usually how it is, like in a partnership. And the one gentleman was like fixing the cabinets when I was over there. And I was just like, what are you doing? And he like just starts laughing. You know, I was like, do you really enjoy this? Or are you just telling yourself that? You know, like I always like to just get to know people. And I asked him, what did you do in your life? Did you only do these properties? No, they were both business owners outside of the properties. The properties were just like an additional add-on. You know, they were partners. They enjoyed doing it. And, you know, we were going through the numbers, and the numbers just weren't going to work for me. But I was like, why are you managing all these yourselves? Like you could easily keep these and push them off to a property management company and like still make your stream of income and keep your properties. Cause it sounds like the headaches just, you know, kind of holding you up. He's like, well, why would I give all that money away? And it just made me laugh, because I was like, that's the mentality I was taught and grew up with. Don't give those dollars away. You manage everything. And it's a really hard push for me to sometimes relinquish stuff because of that. But I've also taught myself you have to do that. So I think just bridging the gap, like being real with people, like just getting to know people. Like for me, listen, whether I buy your house or not, it's not going to affect my life one way or another, because there's always another deal right behind that. And I truly believe in that. But if I can build a friendship with someone and build rapport, the reality is now at this point, we're just working out the numbers. But like, I want to help you no matter what, even if I can't buy it. So for me, I think once you're real with people, that level of respect is mutual and people are okay. Now, contractors dealing with women, I know this, I'm married. Who wants a nagging woman telling them what to do on a job site? And I'll be very transparent, because that's how most women come in sometimes, because they feel like they have to prove, like, I'm a woman. I know these men are going to treat me this way. I mean, I've been there, but I see the opposite. I'm almost like, okay, you guys know what you're doing, so let's work as a team. Here's the reality. I never want to be here. I love the work you do, but I pay you, right? So every Friday, I want everything finished, so you're getting paid. And the reality is, I don't want to babysit you. Like, I tell them that and they laugh. Like, I want to give you the autonomy to do what you do great. Just do it and get it done. And it's interesting, because when you have an attitude like that and you're like in a mutual understanding and you're not feeling like you're just nagging, like, empty the dishwasher, why isn't this done? Like, you know, like, get Noah on here. He's like, oh, yeah. And it seems to work. But again, I think it's hiring the right people that get it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And also you know this, Corey, you walk a fine line, because you want to be very real with your contractors and friends, and you want to hang out with people, but then that can bleed lines, because sometimes that creates this laziness or excuse making on both parts. And I don't like that. So I like definitely want to be friendly, but I also need this completed, and this is why, right? But I think I've learned to hire people better based on that.
So give me your experience with Spartanburg, because I got my experience with Brunswick, right? So how did you find this? Because we were talking, it felt like the same situation. You're like hour and some change away, right, from Columbia. Have you done a deal down there or
no
over there? I don't know how.
And the way we got this deal, actually, my kid's pre-K teacher, she grew up in that home. And when she heard her parents say they wanted to sell their rental property, because it was a rental property, they had the same tenant in for like 22 years, I think. She was like, hey, call Christy and Noah, right? Like, why would you do this? Do this. So it was like a
referral.
Yes. Again, your mouth is your best tool. Like, she knows what we do. She loves that. She loves our family. She babysits for our kids. So it worked. So when we went and looked at the house, we ran the numbers and we're like, okay, this is actually a really great, we could have kept it as a rental, but I was like, I don't really want anything up there. Let's flip it. The numbers made sense. So what I started doing, because I was like, I know no one in that area. So it's not like I can even call. I did actually, I'm sorry. I knew one investor in Greenville, which is kind of close to Spartanburg. So I reached out to him, and I hate taking other people's team members. Like, this is just me personally. Just because you think someone's good and just because I refer someone to you does not mean that we're going to work the same together, because your expectations might be different than mine. So I personally don't like to use anyone's other people. I like to build my own team because they're more loyal to me. And I also feel like I know what I'm looking for, because I can't unbreak those bad habits, right? It's like trying to retrain someone else's kids. is
Yeah.
really hard. Like I know what I did with mine, but like going backwards is a little more difficult. So I literally went online. I was like, okay, I know I need electrical. I need to find a licensed electrician. I'm going to pick the top 3 reviews I found online. I need exterior work done and, roofing, top 3 people. So what I did was I called each of those. And, right now, everyone, I hear this all the time. Everyone's so busy. I can't get everyone to show up and they want 10% down. The only person I paid anything down to start was the electrician. And I get that because he's licensed and he needs to start his job and he wants to make sure I'm committed too. So like for me, I was okay with that. I think I paid him 10%. Everyone else, I paid $0 up front. So I got everyone to show up. No one, I went there one day. I literally stacked everyone from 9 to 10. And if you got there on time, awesome. If you were late, I'm not using you. If you can't be there on time, then you're done. Good for coming by. You're not my person because I already know where that's headed because I've dealt with that.
Yeah.
So we had the flooring guy show up, the painter, the electrician, an exterior guy who did some soffit and fascia and siding. And then I have one guy who was like my guy that was going to do all the additional stuff, which would be the kitchen cabinets, the shower wall, all of that. So I kind of subbed everyone. Now I've gotten good at like knowing the rhythm of a rehab. So I know when the electrician needs to be in, who comes next type thing. So I'm good at managing those portions. So I knew that for me was better than just getting a GC to handpick. But if you're not good at that, get a GC that has all those subs. That's good. But I chose to do it individual and it ran super smooth.
Yeah.
The only person that didn't come through, and that's because it got pushed back a little, was the flooring guy. And he got wishy-washy. And I was like, okay, let me go to the second guy on the list. And that guy I called last week. He was in there last week, got it done. And they look beautiful.
That's awesome. So it cost you $0 to find this property.
$0 to find the property.
Gas money to go there.
Gas money.
Maybe a lunch.
Not even. I don't even think.
Did you check out Spartanburg at all?
I think I took a Celsius. Nope. Corey, I just was like, I was like, I'm on a mission. I don't want to spend time up here. Although I do think the downtown is a cool place. I've been talking to the one guy doing the cabinetry. He's a cool dude. He's a musician at night, but he does a lot of woodwork and stuff. He's great. Yeah. So he knows that scene. And I've actually recruited him. I'm going to be doing some direct mail in that neighborhood. And he's a really sociable, likable guy. So I said, hey, if I do some marketing there, will you go meet sellers if I need you to? He's like, I'm on it. And he owns rental property himself. So he gets it. I was like, he will be a great resource because he knows he'll get more work.
Do you mind me asking some of the numbers? Like what'd you buy it for? What was the repairs?
So
what was your estimated ARV?
Yes.
And what are you actually like going to list it for? What do you feel like you're going to list it for?
This is good. So when again, we know these people. So I really was like, I want to be super fair. What do you want for the house? It wasn't even like really a negotiation at this point because it was like, I'm going to see these people. They're in our lives. Like Jessica stays with her kids when we go on overnight trips. Like I love her. Like she's one of my kids, my 20-year-old kids. Right. So I was like, I want this to be mutual. Literally talked to her father. He was like 50,000. We're like, that's it. Because when we initially were looking at the comps, and again, I know there's above, asking best and highest going on during this process because we bought this about 2.5 months ago. But I was like, you know what? Anything can happen. I just like to base it on a very conservative number. Our conservative ARV was 145. So I was like, when you say
conservative, because I know what that means, but like I think like we're in a market where it was easy. Obviously, overnight it changed. But when you say conservative, what do you mean? Like, do you go under what you think it is, or do you kind of use?
So here's what I went with. I looked at the very fixed up comps, and I looked at the comps that were like a mediocre rehab. I wouldn't even call it lipstick on a pig. They were like super bad. Like they weren't even that good from the picture. So I know once you got in the house, it probably wasn't that good. So some of those were selling at like 130, 125, 130 for like mediocre. The fixed up ones were like a broad gap. Now, again, I knew this area, the immediate neighborhood, but there's also and you know this, like being in Savannah, street to street, just like Columbia, there's like a big road that switches over. So I was like, can those comps be included? And luckily we have a great agent here that did an agent referral down there and found an agent for us. Awesome. So I'm really good at pulling comps, and so's Noah. So we spent some time driving that area when we were down there before we bought the house. and just kind of looking. But I was like, like this one sold and it was a little bit better of a rehab for like 155. But let's face it, like on that lower number, I just felt good in the middle. So like I knew if we sold it at that, we'd be okay. But I really figure we could probably sell it for 155. Like that was in my mind what we would probably get, but let's keep it at like a 145-ish.
Yeah.
So when we got into the rehab, I ran the numbers and I was like, we're going to be between probably max level like 35. Okay. So I was like, all right. And we got the money. We borrowed private money from our local agent. Actually, she lent the money.
And anybody that did not catch the video last week, Noah did a whole presentation, which was awesome, on how you two raise money.
Right. And she's awesome. So she's listed a bunch of our houses we've renovated and rehabbed, and they have some money and like some retirement. And they were like, they own rentals, so they get the business. But she's also like, I don't really have the time or the crew, but like, I'm going to lend to you guys in the next deal. So it was like a win-win. I was like, oh, this is great. So she lent the money. And as we started doing the rehab, I started again evaluating the comps, right? And I get the agent to really come in. So I talked to the agent like 2 weeks ago even, and she's like, Christy, she's like, I have a house under contract right over from there. I'm waiting for the appraisal to come back. It's a little bit bigger than yours, but it's the exact same property. And she's like, that property is going to appraise for 180. I'm like, what? Like, what? I'm like, okay, that's fabulous. So I started now looking at the house, like in these old houses in the South, this, some of them have, we just did a house, we posted it on our social media, the washer dryer in the kitchen. That's not the most desirable, right? So in my mind, what we did in our house here in Columbia, I was like, okay, let's spend a little more and have him box that in to look nicer, because now I know we can get a higher ARV. It's not going to cost that much more to do these things, but like, let's really make this property shine. Let's make it look good. And there's literally nothing in that neighborhood on the market, which is also helping us. So we're all in like right around 37,000. Cost of money, I would say, like after everything's all said and done, maybe we'll be in a little shy of like 100 grand. But like the agent, there were some more houses. Like she texted me yesterday. She's like, I relooked at comps now that interest rates are rising and what's going on. So 2 weeks ago, she's like, I think we could actually list it at 189. But she came back to me and said, I feel confident, like the most in the safe zone. We might get someone coming in above, but literally 179.9 is where we're going to list it. And
which in America is a great deal to have a house under 200,000 average.
Right.
I think it's more, right? So you said, the purchase price was what now?
50,000.
50.
Mm-hmm. And then
you put about 37 into it. Close to 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then you thought you were going to, so your estimated rehab wasn't that off, right?
No,
you've done this so many times that you kind of, you're not going in
and there were no unknowns because we really walked the house, but it was more like, do I want to make this a little better? Like in my mind, I was like, okay, we could, add this to be a little fancier. Let's go with better appliances. We could probably just go with regular whatever, but if we spend $700 more, it'll be worth it because it'll look really good, and it has hardwoods. So we didn't have to replace flooring. We didn't replace windows. We had a lot of exterior, like just wood rot that we did. There was a minor foundation levelment. Like I think that was like $4,500. Hardwood floors, kitchen floors, cabinets, countertops, the basics, but nothing crazy. HVAC was newer.
Yeah.
Electrical was the big thing. It had some old knob and tube in it. And I know when you get financing, it's really hard sometimes if that's still existent in the house. So we went in and
you change it.
Mm-hmm, yep. And that was probably the highest cost. And to be honest, so like how
much did that run you?
I think it was like 8,200 to get it done, which was a little to me on the high side, but let me tell you something, it wasn't. That included all fixtures. And this guy so here's the options you have. I live far away. I can nickel and dime someone that might not be as good and does sloppy cuts on the walls that I have to go back and patch and do. This gentleman, I could tell just by talking to him, I was like, he gets it. I was like, listen, I need you to do as little cuts as possible so we can come back in. It was like perfect work. So for the cost, I was like, it's totally worth it. And also, why am I going to try to get him down on price? Then he's going to be less likely to want to do more work with me. I was like, I'm trying to build a relationship and we're still making.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, you got to, there's a balance. But I
Right.
mean, you don't want to be getting ripped off, but you know how much, if he was charging you 15, you'd be like, I'm not doing that.
Exactly. And Corey,
Um,
listen, that's the truth, because when I look at that, I go, okay, like what was my estimated original? Because this is where people start to walk that greedy, crazy line. They're like, oh, the ARV is so much higher now. I can, on this one rehab, instead of making 30, now I can make 80. So I'm just going to nickel and dime and squeeze all the blood out of the turnip. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like,
yeah,
why don't have that mentality? Because you burn bridges, and it just does not make sense. Like, I don't know, I don't have that scarcity mentality. The money is abundant. I truly believe that every property we didn't get, it was for a reason. A better one came along. If we didn't buy it as this, like that's just real estate.
yeah,
Like, I could look back, I mean, 7 years ago, and I have, and I was like, oh my God, if we kept all those properties we flipped in 2015 right now, we could be sitting on $10 million if we just held them to sell them. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, that's a dagger in the heart. And then it's like, who cares? Move on. The same thing will happen again. It's like, that's real estate.
yeah. It's the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out and all that kind of stuff
It
that's going
is.
on. So
And
what are you
people
gonna
look
make
at,
on this?
so I'm looking like, depending on where it comes in, like let's just say based on that number, I would say conservatively we'll make 60 to 65,000. It could be a little more depending on where the ball falls, which
That's
is
awesome.
for us a massive home run. Like, honestly,
Yeah,
we're not in a market like a Savannah where it's so over. Yes, we've seen numbers jumped, or like a Charleston, or a California. So like on average, a lot of our rehabs in a general time pre-pandemic, our rehabs 35,000 was a great rehab because the
yeah.
price points aren't ridiculous, which is also why I like it. It's a safe. So this is like a home run for us. I'm super excited.
Yeah, yeah, I'm experiencing. It's funny that because it's good to talk to other investors in these areas, especially in the Southeast, right? We're not that far from each other. Savannah's technically, so close to South
So
Carolina
quick.
that I mean, the South Carolina news comes on. It's not Columbia, but we're right there.
Yeah,
So
we love it. We love where we're at, because like last night we were in Charlotte in an hour and a half. Then we could be in Savannah, we can be in Greenville,
yeah.
everywhere. But our cost of living is like very low here.
So what would a house like that rent for? Do you
So I
know? Did
looked
you
at the
kind of
rent.
look that up?
I did, because we actually were like originally like, shoot, passive income's always our end goal. And we've got a lot of properties now that are doing great. We do a lot of travel nurses and short-term rentals. So when I looked at it, it's very close proximity to the hospital. So when I looked at on a travel nurse aspect, we could probably get close to 1,500 a month because it's a 3-bedroom bath. And I was like, dang, if you looked at just what we bought it for and what we have in, and what it's worth, that would make a great rental property to buy and hold. And it's in a really good area. So
Yeah.
I was like, the cash flow would be good. If it was just like probably a regular standard tenant, I'm thinking like 12 to 1250 probably.
So I get this question. I don't do any Airbnbs or short-term rentals or any. I get this question all the time. Do you think it's a good idea to do it? And I know, like, I'm seeing what's happening in Atlanta. I'm seeing some stuff that's going on, in your neck of the woods with short-term rentals. How are you
Right.
like adjusting with that? And like here in Savannah, like we only have the historic district in certain
You're being
areas.
governed by the
Yeah,
local
government. Yeah,
laws.
that's a great word to say. Yeah. So
Totally governed.
are you focusing on these travel nurses? Like, what do you do? What are y'all doing with the short term stuff?
So I think, like, here's the thing: short-term rentals aren't this new thing. Like we used to
Yeah,
go to like I grew up in Virginia. We would go to the Outer Banks and vacation every summer, right? And then
Ivy.
we didn't call those short-term rentals. We called them
Yeah.
rentals because you had to
Vacation
do
rentals.
vacation rentals. So you had to do them at a 7-day minimum typically, right? And the only reason they did that, I don't think it was because of local laws. They just don't want the turnover. They knew they could get higher money. So now when this short-term concept came, it's like people are like, oh my gosh, this is new. I'm like, guys, it's been going on forever. Like, what are you talking about? So I think what they're worried about is like the onesie twosie days. What type of people are you getting? Like, people just don't understand. Like, there's bad people that come for a week. There's bad people that come for a day. There's bad
Yeah.
neighbors. There's great neighbors. So what I'm seeing, they were trying to push these local governs, but what they started finding out is that a lot of people were giving massive resistance. It's like, listen, it's not big companies coming in here. I'm a stay-at-home mom and this is my income so I can stay home with my kids. Get out of here. So they started getting so much pushback that it's been pushed back. And when we're
Oh,
supposed to have a meeting, they have not enacted anything because they don't have enough evidence to really build a case to say it's bad.
mm.
They did not come in qualified to fight that. And they had a lot of people that had the data, which were the owners of properties, and were like, no, sir, we're not doing this, because we also have a university here. So you're not going to tell me you don't have issues with college rentals and slumlords, because I know those neighborhoods. And it was just interesting. So we'll see what plays out. Worst case scenario, they shut down short-term rentals, whatever. When we buy our properties, we buy them based on long-term tenants. So we always look at our numbers. Like, what if the world shut down like it did at the pandemic and no one was traveling? We could still put a long-term renter in that and we'll make money. And then what if they don't allow short-term rentals, short-term? We could do travel nurses, right? We could do business, people that are here for longer stints. So there's opportunity. And I think ours right now, they're focusing on City of Columbia, like kind of regulating that. But we have little outer lying areas right outside of City of Columbia, like KC, West Columbia, that aren't enforcing those rules. So it's kind of like, you just have to be smart when you buy. So like for us, what we've started doing is we solely target multiple units. We don't go after just a house, because a house is only one stream of income. We go after multiple units. And I don't mean like apartment complexes or a duplex or any of that. I look for weird properties that have multiple units on one parcel. So like we have a 4-unit, which is a house with a pool house behind it. And the previous owner is grandfathered in. He actually split the house into a top and bottom. So it's house, apartment, the back unit, pool house is apartment. So we have 4 units on one parcel. So we have 4 ways to make income. So even if all short-term rentals shut down, we can have 4 long-term tenants. So we're making good money. And, I've seen it. So we do travel nurses, and during COVID, travel nurse pay was up and it was ridiculous because, nobody wanted to travel for COVID. Now I'm starting to see some travel nurses, and I talk to them a lot about the process. They're getting contracts cut short. They're not paying some of them as much to come in. So you have to look at those variables and know, like, hey, right now I'm getting extreme rents. That might not be forever, but the reality is I still know how to make money with that. So it's not affecting my business.
Yeah, it's like the season, it's a different season.
Exactly.
Right? Like COVID was that, I should say COVID, because not everybody caught it, but as far as the pandemic, right, it was a season, and we're kind of like,
and we might be in another one,
new season. Yeah,
totally. It's always going to be a season,
real estate wise.
Yeah, it's always a real estate season. That's why it like sort of makes me chuckle, because I know a lot of older investors that have been investing for 30 and 40 years. I'm fortunate enough to like have those relationships. They're like, this is no different than like, back in the 70s or 80s. It's a different circumstance, but it's the same thing. So it's like easy in some people's brains to think it's the end of the world. It's gloom and doom, but it's like, this is a cycle, just like everything. Just know what you're doing. Like you said, those 80 strategies, you better learn all of them, because you're going to use them in different cycles. If you don't know them, you're not going to be investing for long.
Yeah.
It's like being a good agent. Like I think about 2 specific agents. My sister came in to be an agent in 2007, the worst time ever to come into the market, conceptually, because everything was falling. And my friend Brian that lives local, those guys are the top amazing agents because they've worked through the bad, they've seen the good, and they know how to hustle, and they will continue. They will always flourish because they're good at what they do. And it's cool to see that. So some of the agents that jumped on board during the height, they're not going to be here in a year. I mean, they just won't, because it's so easy right now, to make money. When that stops, people give up.
Yeah. And it looks easier than what it is. Like even myself, like I post stuff on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, but it's like, I'm not posting all my losses or all my issues or all my problems. I just don't do that. Right. So, keep it real, but I'm keeping it REEL, right? Keeping reals, right?
Yeah. Nobody wants to follow somebody that's gloom and doom. Is everything perfect, right? Like you follow me, Corey, you see our kids, and our almost 6-year-old's autistic. So it's funny to me the things he does, because they're so disastrous sometimes, but in his mind, he's like taking over the world. So sometimes, like the other day, this is no joke, I haven't even posted the video. Like it's so funny. I walk out in the hallway, and he has pulled up the transition strip. Thank God we rehab houses, to our laminate flooring between his bedroom. And he Tetrised out all of the laminate completely. The whole thing was in his room. Within 3 minutes, he did that, which is actually amazing. I was like, oh my God, this kid's mind is amazing. Like most parents would be screaming and yelling, and he doesn't grasp. It's like a mission for him. And I'm like, oh my God, that's pretty impressive, actually. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
you're
want
like
to do
demo
it.
week. We know who to call.
I'm like, but not on our house. Can you just go to the project? But like, it's perspective, right? So sometimes I throw that stuff up because I think it's just funny because everyone can relate.
Yeah,
And like every day isn't perfect, right?
yeah,
Like, but like all in all, we want to motivate people. Like the good outweighs the bad. So it's like, why focus on the bad? That just makes my day crappy.
right. What's your favorite? Not favorite, but what do you feel like is your best? Actually, favorite paid marketing.
You know what? That's interesting. Two we did. So we did a networking event for a long time and paid to do that. Like that was like a fun thing for my husband and I to just to get out and just meet people in the community. And it wasn't even necessarily real estate related. We did that and we were throwing a decent chunk of money into it, but it was almost like this is our go out night. So we'll kind of mix it in with meeting people. So I like that. I still love direct mail. I hear so many awful things with people like it doesn't work and this. I like direct mail. Like it always like, yeah, I'm not going to get 50 calls. Maybe I will. I don't know if I'm targeting right, but maybe I won't. But like, I think direct mail's good. People open it, they see it, it works. Those have always been some of like my favorites that have worked.
Yeah,
And people
yeah.
just down all that, but it works. I don't know what you're looking for. Again, I'm not looking to do 5 million deals a year. That sounds awful.
And the reason I say that I was thinking like, what was your favorite? Because for me, I do cold calling. People have seen me do cold calling and stuff, but my favorite is direct mail. I
Isn't
do
that
enjoy. I
funny?
do
Why?
enjoy inbound calls, like direct mail website. Different things like that. Even though I understand that SMS, RVM, and cold calling do work, right?
Right,
So.
right. It all works. So that's what I try to encourage people to know. Like, I don't care what you're doing, it all works. It's just how
Mhm.
much time do you have to put into it? How much work do you want to do? Because what works for you might not work for me, or nor do I want to do it. So, like, I think a lot of times you have to look at your realistic schedule. Like, we talk about time blocking, but that's not just real estate, that's your life. Like, look at your life on a calendar along with your business and what really works for you. So, what
Yeah.
works for you, Corey? Like, I see you doing all this amazing stuff. And I know I can outsource it and do that. But when I think about sometimes doing that, I get overwhelmed. So I just stick to my 3 to 4 ways that work for me. I'm not saying I couldn't do that. That just doesn't always work in my wheelhouse for what I'm doing right now. That doesn't mean I might not do it next week. It doesn't mean I might not do it 6 months from now. It's just we've still got deals coming in and what I do works. And what you do is working for you and you enjoy it. And I think the big thing is pick what you enjoy doing.
Yes.
Don't do stuff you hate doing because reality is, I always found this, I laugh because, through our whole life, we always work in sales, right? Like no matter what you're doing, you're selling. You're putting on makeup, you're fixing your hair, you're doing this, like you're constantly selling, like, right? That's how I got my husband. Different story now that we're having married, but it's the same. So I think back, I worked for this company out of college. And I'm not afraid to say I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. That was like my first, I sold insurance, then I went to Enterprise and they sell coverage when you pick up a car. You've rented a car, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
if your insurance doesn't transfer, get ours because it's this. But I was always like, but I don't understand. Doesn't your insurance transfer? Which is the question people would get. Well, they make money off of that, which they should, right? They're covering the car if something happens. But I would laugh because, there would be sales goals. And I was probably the worst on the list. And it was like, why am I so bad? But I didn't truly believe and love what I was doing. I was like, ugh, this is awful. Then you transfer me to anything else in life. I always did really well if I believed in it because it was like my passion and what I enjoyed. And I feel like that's it with marketing. If you don't love it, don't do it. Like you don't have to.
Yeah.
Outsource it or do something else.
It does need to be done. And I'm actually, because I know
Yes.
we don't have a whole bunch of time, but I'm gonna throw in here. So
Yeah.
and we got so much going on. I was like looking at my schedule this month and I was like, we have a lot. Like Noah's coming this week. We have Clubhouse going on this week talking about these different marketing strategies.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to join us, that's another, thing that you can come in and join us on. I'll actually put that in the chat.
Yeah, that's
With
what
the
I was
link.
gonna say. Probably, yeah.
Yep, and I'll share with the group and stuff like that. Joanna is going to be on next Saturday at the same time. So Joanna Anderson, Noah, myself, and you, Christy, are all going to be on Clubhouse this Wednesday, just talking about some of the stuff that we were talking today, but more in depth
Right.
on marketing and acquisitions and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you got to market, guys. Like, and sometimes I know this hasn't been the case always, but this, Corey, some of the deals wholesalers bring, when you look at them, you're just like, oh, the numbers don't make sense on this, or like their repair estimates are off. And that's not every wholesaler, because there's some amazing wholesalers out there, but because the numbers and everything have been so inflated. So like what's happening is sometimes people go out only buy this way, which is fine if it's a good deal, but like you need to know how to like analyze that deal and make sure, because if not, again, but you got to be able to market some way. I don't care if it's going to a networking event. You need to know what to do when you get there. I don't care if it's cold calling. Cool. I can't just pick up the phone and do that now if I don't know what I'm doing. But like, that's the whole base of your business. You have to market.
Yeah. So what's your, and I kind of know it. I'm assuming that I know it. What's your favorite free marketing strategy?
People, just conversations, like it's funny. Like I'm the most extrovert, as you can see, like loudest. I mean, I laugh because before we started, I was like, okay, Corey, what are we going to talk about? And he's like, Grant Cardone says like, put a quarter in me and I'll just go. And that's me. I'm like, you don't even have to put any money in me and I'll go. So it's a little much for some people. And I am truly like this all the time. Like it's all or nothing. So, what's funny is, during the pandemic, we were like kind of stuck at home, which was cool in a way because it like gave me time to like focus on like what I really wanted to do and unwind. But like, I love human interaction and I love people. So for me, it's really easy just to talk to someone. I mean, it's almost weird. Like my background degree is in psychology and I love helping people. Like, honestly, probably I should have been a school teacher and work with kids. I love children. I love going into my son's school and doing field day. We went to field day and my husband's like mortified because he's like, there's too many kids. They're touching me. And I'm like, giving everyone a hug, it's so funny. So for me, I like to build relationships. So really, I guess in a sense, that relationship somehow flourishes into a deal or a lead or someone thinks about us. So we've been very fortunate with agents, everyone. If I'm at a kid's sporting event, I'm talking to people about what we do. So naturally things seem to just come in our direction. So that definitely is like my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, I guess I know we're coming up here on time, but if somebody was to reach out to you, like for coaching, I know we talk a lot. So you're like, got a lot going on, but are you doing any kind of like one-on-one coaching or group coaching or anything like that? I know we're working on some stuff because we see the need, but personally, if anybody wanted to reach out to you from our group, do you do any of that?
I do. So it's funny because, again, I'm like all or nothing. So if I can't give you my all, I will not work with you. Or if I don't feel like you're in a position that you know enough to be able to be coached or you need to get to the next level, I'll transparently tell you because it's not helping me anyway. And it's definitely not helping you. So I do. It's very limited. My focus more so has really been like, if you go to christyduckett.com, I have a website there.
I put it in the chat.
Okay, cool. Yep. I have my mobile home course. I do love the mobile home. I have a guy that bought the course and then reached out to me. And it was kind of funny because he was like asking a couple questions and he was like, and I have a calendar. You can set up coaching calls for sure and go on there. And I just shot an email back to him fast. Here's like the 5 things. And he's like, I can't believe you just did that. And you didn't set up a call and charge me. And I'm like, dude, just go out and do a deal. Like, that's all I want. Like, it's cool. If you need more coaching down the line and you need some strenuous help, set up a call. But for me, it takes 2 seconds. Somehow that's paying it forward. From the abundance mindset that will come full circle. Maybe he'll come back and say, hey, I'm working out this deal. And here we are. So I don't extensively do coaching as much as I used to because it just requires a lot of time. And, even now, and I don't mean this like, hey, I don't need the money. I'm not saying that. I mean, listen, the reality is everybody needs money. Everybody wants money. But for me, to be able to do it at the level I want and invest the time takes away from my family. So it's more like, hey, what do you need? Because if I'm not the fit, maybe there's someone else, or maybe I would pick up 1 or 2. I do coach a couple people locally right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I just know that you help me so much that and I know how it is, like it can get overwhelming with a lot of people and stuff. So,
and you don't want to feel like you're underserving someone. And like for you guys had so much. I mean, Corey, I respect you so much, probably out of anyone I know, because you were the most educated, willing to learn, open. And I met you when you were 10 years younger. You were like a baby. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, you were like baby face. But like you literally learned, dove in, went to every seminar, workshop. Like I respected that so much because I didn't necessarily do that. I started learning and kind of doing some of that. But like, I think everyone learns differently, but I love that about you. So like when you were ready to coach, I was like, you just need to find details to tune. You've got a lot of the information. You just need to find stuff. And I can definitely help you with that. Starting someone from square one is very hard. If you have not been through an educational program and you don't even know the first thing and you want to jump into this, you've got to like figure out an education system. That is a good one that tells you what to do. It's really important.
And work on your mind frame, because there's a big shift if you've only, it's a different world. You know, it's a different world. So like, you know, you go out here, you raise 100 grand, you've never made 100 grand. It's kind of tough to, you know, have those kind of conversations, to talk about money if you're not conditioned in a way where you kind of like are looking at money as not emotional.
Yeah.
Right?
And you feel like you're selling someone on why they should use you. And to me, it's like, I literally have a college roommate whose brother has so much money. I mean, he's worked hard. I mean, he's a smart guy. Every time I would see him, he would talk about real estate. He would talk about lending. And I saw him for the last time on her 40th birthday, and I love him. He's like a brother to me. And he was like, well, what if I said, listen, I don't want to talk about money anymore. You've been talking about this for 8 years. You're never going to lend. I was like, you ask all the questions. You're like one of those that's never going to do it because you find every reason not to. And he just busts out laughing. And I was like, I'm just overexerting my energy. And you like asking me questions. I don't know, read a book. Like, and it was so funny. And I'm like, you're not my lender. That's not the person I would approach, even though you have all the money and I know I can help you. Wrong mindset, like not gonna work, you know? So you're right. The mindset.
You're like, cheers, let's have a drink. Let's enjoy our life tonight.
It's good to see you. I don't care. I don't need any more private money. We already have enough. Well, why would I pay you that much? Well, you're not, because I don't even want to use you.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just kind of funny because you're right. Mindset goes into everything, and it's hard to change because it is you know this, you've done a lot of coursework recently, I know, on just, you know, your life and your family and how that's changed. I mean, that's everyone. So like, it's very hard to break all that on your own and do it successfully. It takes a lot. So you have to consciously realize it's there and know how to change it and seek the help. So it's, you know, I always say real estate can be for everyone. Will everyone do it? No, they won't. It's because there's so many variables.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on here. I know time is something we can't get back. So I really do greatly appreciate you spent some great time. There's some gems in here. I'm going to download this and get these videos to you and Noah so y'all can have them. But thank you so much. If there's anything that you want to say to anybody out there, like just a last word, as far as like, even if they're experienced or new, just some words of advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like if this is truly what you want to do, find the right people to surround yourself by, know what they're doing. Don't get pulled in by, oh, I'm going to help you for free, or I'm going to do this. People don't do that. Like they don't even know what they're doing half the time, or, you know, I'm going to split the deal with you or any of that. No, just go out and educate yourself, get with the right people, get your headspace right. You don't have to do real estate full time. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Like maybe you love your job and you just want to supplement. You want to buy a couple of rental properties. That's cool too. But like, you're with Corey, you're obviously in his group, go to his meetups. Like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting at home? Like, reach out, go see what's going on, find out, because he's moving and shaking and knows what's going on. And that's who you need to be surrounded by.
Yeah, and come this Tuesday, your husband Noah is going to be speaking on private money. He last minute, he's like, you're like texting, and I'm like, you want to do it? He's like, yeah. Actually, he texts me. He's like, I'm coming down. I'm like, you're coming?
He
so
loves.
He had a good time. He had a good time last time.
He had so much fun. Actually, I was gonna have a surprise guest.
I know he's in the chat. I was
Cruz,
like, he's like, you think it's a good idea? I'm like, yeah. Can you talk about private money live? I think that would be great. So
Cruz was thinking about trucking along on the trip, maybe too, just to come down to see Savannah for a little bit and check it out. So we'll see. We'll see if he goes. He's like, now wait, do I have to sit in class and listen? I'm like, yeah. And you can see the sitting. He's like, let me think on that. So
yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Cool.
Well, have a great Saturday.
You
Thank
too.
you so much. Yeah.
All right. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.